Hey, how's it going? Lux Neophyte here, and first let me apologize for the lack of video content. Life had caught up with me, strangled me, locked me in a closet, and now I'm trying to fight my way back. Anyways, this episode, a Porsche Museum and a Belgian watch. I think it'd be pretty interesting, so stick around. So back when it was sunny in Luxembourg and the COVID lockdown was being lifted, I had convinced a few of my friends to take a trip to Stuttgart, Germany, to visit the Porsche Museum and kind of hang out and enjoy basically being outside. So we all hopped into my friend's brand new BMW and started our way to Stuttgart, which is about 4 hours away from the city of Luxembourg. Finally getting to our destination, the beautiful Porsche Museum right next to the Porsche factory. And the Porsche factory and the museum, of course, really hard to miss because they're these giant spires with Porsches stapled onto them. And like all things German, parking was efficient and we found ourselves in line for the Porsche Museum in no time. Open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesday to Sunday, the museum is closed on Mondays. Adults pay 9.7 euros to get in, and kids up to and including 14 years old, well, they get in for free. Last admission to the Porsche Museum is at 5:30 p.m., so don't be late. And luckily, tickets are half price at 5 p.m. The Porsche Museum is 5,600 square meters and filled to the brim with the stuff that makes any Porsche fan jump around with glee. It features 80 cars housed in the unique and winding exhibit floor, putting you right next to everything from the electric 1898 Edgar Lohner Porsche P1 to the Porsche 918 Spider. Multimedia guides are available for free and probably the best option if you're visiting on your own. So the museum is chock full of interesting stuff, and if you're a Porsche nut, well, you're in paradise. I mean, we're talking stuff like this 1922 Ultra Daimler ADS R Sasha powered by a 1100cc 50 horsepower engine propelling the car to a top speed of 89 miles per hour. Now let's be honest, 89 miles per hour in this chassis at that time and age, yeah, that must have required a big pair. Some of the more other interesting things that we're talking about is this 1939 Type 64 body. What is considered the racing forerunner to the production Porsches to follow. If you are a lover of all things automobile, there's something magical about this shape and the form that launched the quintessential Porsche identity. Some of the other interesting things, 1948 356 number 1. Air-cooled flat 4-cylinder 1.131cc engine that created 40 horsepower. This prototype that launched the 356 made quite an impression. I mean, I sat there staring at it for a while, just mesmerized by that shape. And honestly, I can just go on and on about all the cars in that museum, but the pictures and videos will not do it justice. Let's be honest, to the average person, this place would be 60 cars too many. But there's something to be said about being able to stand next to the Porsches that were hanging on your bedroom wall. On those posters that you loved, right? Or your favorite YouTube race video. So all in all, 9.7 euros, that was 9.7 euros well spent. And my only regret is that you can't touch the cars. Don't get me wrong, you can get close enough to smell the tires without touching it. And I will not comment whether I went around smelling tires, but like watches, cars should also be a tactile experience. Speaking of watches, for this trip, I asked my Belgian friend to bring along his favorite watch, an early Radeon 42mm chronograph limited to 55 pieces, a Belgian watch with a Swiss heart perfect for any racing and car enthusiast. Did you say Radeon, Lux Neophyte? Yes, I said Radeon because I'm an American and that's how we pronounce things. Anyways, the Raidillon is a Belgian watch company started in 2001, named for the Radeon curve of the famous Spa-Francorchamps racetrack in Belgium. So if you know anything about the Belgian Grand Prix, that's it. It's that curve. So the Raidillon specializes in race-inspired limited edition watches designed in Belgium with a Swiss heart. My friend's 42 chronograph that he had actually brought is powered by an ETA Valjoux 7750 chronograph movement. So the Raidillon has some heft weighing 116 grams with the rally strap and butterfly folding clasp. Moving through some of the normal measurements here, you have a lug-to-lug about 52 millimeters. It's about 42 millimeters wide, therefore the 42 chronograph name. 46 millimeters if you include the crown. And the watch is a manageable 15 millimeters thick, although the crystal, the sapphire crystal on top, makes it feel a little bit thicker than that. So my friend Quentin's watch is the 42 millimeter chronograph, but he bought it a while ago. So it's a little bit different from the 42 millimeter chronographs or the other watches that you would see in the Radeon website these days. Particularly, the biggest difference I think is the water rating. For example, his watch is 5 atmospheres, and I believe the newest watches are 10 atmospheres. So a little bit of an improvement there. So first impressions, this watch has a noticeable and hefty weight, even only at 116 grams. I guess this comes from my own bias, as I'm mostly wearing chronographs that are quartz. The case is solid and consistent with its mechanical and racing influence. The 316L steel case is brush finished. It has a pronounced dome sapphire crystal with a double anti-reflective coating, which transitions nicely to the beveled bezel. Quentin's 42 has a black dial which makes the gray Roman numerals pop out nicely. As soon as you pick it up, the watch immediately catches one point, which is the red chronograph hand and that red 55 at 11 o'clock. The watch has 3 subdials, which is 12-hour at 6 o'clock, the 30-minute at 12 o'clock, and the seconds at 9 o'clock. A day and date window at the 3 o'clock with the Radeon automatique painted above and below. Green loomed leaf hands for the hour and minute hands accompany the pronounced chronograph seconds hand, adding to the whole racing vibe of the watch. Surprisingly, Radeon decided to go with a simple seconds ring instead of a tachymeter for the chronograph. The dial is capped off with a movement Swiss at the 6 o'clock, denoting the ETA Valjoux 7750 chronograph movement. And if you're a fan of sapphire casebacks, you're in luck, because the Radeon 42mm features a nice view of the 25 jewel movement. Not much in terms of decorations other than the Raidillon name etched on the automatic rotor. The screw-down crown is etched with a 55 and are brushed along with the pushers to blend in with that brushed case. Now you may be wondering, what is up with the significance of this 55? Well, if you look at the website, the 55 denotes the number of cars that were originally allowed to compete at the Spa-Francorchamps racetrack, and of course connected to the 55 limited number for the model. So this beautiful watch for Quentin is basically limited to 55, which, connects back to historical heritage. And while the watch is beautiful, it has a nice weight and it has this beautiful domed sapphire crystal, and everything on it pretty much catches your eye. If you're a car enthusiast, you see the racing dynamics. The watch dial with its red seconds hand and red 55 matches quite beautifully with the red stitching around the band itself. So all in all, I really do believe that this is a beautiful watch. Granted, it's probably a boutique brand. It's quite small, but it has a lot of the features that any kind of racing chronograph enthusiast would love. And I think my friend Quentin really does enjoy this watch, especially as a racing enthusiast and a Porsche enthusiast. If you are interested in something like this, Well, what would it cost? Well, definitely this is not going to be at the price range of your Seiko quartz chronograph. This we're talking about probably upwards from 2 to 3 to 4,000 euros, which is a pretty hefty chunk. Is it worth that much for a brand that's little known outside probably of the racing world? Well, you know, it really comes down to who wants the watch and who owns the watch. If you, like Canton, loves the racing heritage, Belgian racing heritage, then you find something like this and you think this is the perfect watch. Now, for a cheapskate like me, who's more a Seiko fanatic than anything else, yeah, I'll probably stick with the SSB 031. Yeah, that's a bit more my price range. But hey, that's what's beautiful about this community of watch collectors, right? Variety, it's a spice of life. So in the end, in the immortal words of Humpty Hump from the Digital Underground, whether it's a 4,000 euro watch or a $300 Seiko, do what you like. Peace.